Okay, so I spent the past few days living the 16-inch MacBook life. I've tried the i7 and the i9 pretty extensively. This is the base model i7 and the fully upgraded i9 in terms of CPU and GPU. Now, I don't want to do a technical review of these devices. I feel like there's just a way better conversation to be had instead of just, a breakdown of the differences and good things and bad things about this product. I will talk about a few things up front in terms of things that can help you make a purchase decision. First, the i9 is worth it. If you are someone whose workflow or application can actually take advantage of extra cores, like the i9 has 2 extra cores over the 6-core i7, it's totally worth it this year. They have better thermal performance compared to the previous generation. It's a worthy upgrade. It doesn't have perfect thermals. It does still have thermal limitations, but it's significantly improved over what we saw last year and even better than what came out earlier this year in 2019. Secondly, the GPU. The graphical performance of these new AMD chips is quite solid. Running some benchmarks, you can just see that these new AMD 7nm chips it's a significant bump in performance compared to the Vega 20 from the previous generation. So if you do anything that's graphically intense like video editing, I would just spring for that GPU upgrade. Now, when it comes to performance on MacBook Pros, it's always been complicated. This is why. Apple designs their systems to run off of USB-C charging. Very few devices out there do it. These guys are the only company to do it with a high-performance Intel chip. So there's lots of laptops out there that use like weaker U processors. Apple uses their H processors, like the Intel H processors, and they still power their entire system off of USB-C. It might seem insignificant, but there's 2 advantages to that. First, it allows a device like this to be charged with any kind of USB-C power delivery adapter. So as long as there's enough wattage, it can fill up the MacBook Pro, however slowly it might be. Secondly, it also allows a device like this to work on an airplane power socket. Like so the socket you see on an airplane seat, you can plug this thing up to it and it'll juice up your MacBook. The vast majority of high performance laptops will not work if you plug it into an airplane socket. That's just the way it is. They pull too much wattage, the socket doesn't do it. Now, the disadvantage to having USB-C charging on a device like this is that there's a limit as to how powerful the components can be inside the MacBook Pro. A lot of people are like, why doesn't Apple put an RTX 2080 into their MacBook Pros? It sounds great on paper, but it would be a terrible idea because now this system could no longer run off of 100 watts. So now this whole power system could not work. They would have to have separate power systems. It's not what people want. It's not what Apple wants. That's why they don't do it. And that's also why I'm happy that they use these AMD chips instead of a more powerful NVIDIA GPU. Because if you put an RTX or a GTX anything inside here, you could no longer power it off a 100 watt USB-C charger. It can't be done. No one can do it. So what Apple has actually created here is the world's most powerful laptop that uses USB-C charging. And for a lot of people, that connection is very valuable. Okay, the keyboard. Finally, running scissor switches. Thank goodness. So, I've been talking about this for years, right from the beginning. I'm actually someone that got used to how butterfly switches felt, but the reliability just always bugged me. And it's nice to see that it's finally gone to a really classic and universally loved scissor switch. And it also has the physical escape key, which is fantastic. And it's also nice to see the return of the inverted T for the arrow key cluster. I always thought it was so weird that they switched off of this orientation for the arrow keys to something that was specific to the butterfly keyboards, even though their other products like the iMacs still used this inverted T. So it's nice to see them come back to this. But hardware-wise, they did a really good job this year. The speakers sound fantastic, the microphones are good, the thermal performance is much improved compared to the previous generation. It's still not perfect, but it's way better than anything they've had before in the thin MacBook Pro, so I'm happy with it. If there's there's a few things I don't love. I wish it had Wi-Fi 6. Basically, every high-end laptop that came out this year supports Wi-Fi 6. This still doesn't. And also the webcam, it's still running 720p. It also doesn't have Face ID, which is, it's not the end of the world, but it would have been nice to see on a refresh like this. But overall, hardware is good, including the 16-inch screen. I haven't talked about it because it's really not that special. It's a fantastic screen, but it's what you would expect for a 16-inch MacBook Pro. But over the past 4 years, we've been, as a community of technological enthusiasts, we've been really tunnel visioned on the shortcomings of Apple's hardware because this MacBook from 2016 to early 2019 just had limitations that shouldn't have been there. But now that they've fixed the hardware, I would like to address something that has always been an issue with Apple products, and its value. Is the 16-inch MacBook Pro actually worth its money? Because this is a very expensive machine. It starts at $2,400 and can go up quite high. And in the past on my channel, I have stated that if you were someone that wanted to buy a MacBook Pro for use with Adobe's creative applications, that it wasn't a good option. Like to basically go with half a dozen other options out there that were cheaper and better performing instead of the MacBook Pro. But that is no longer the case. Their hardware this year is good. Their pricing is fair for an Apple product. And most importantly, the way that Adobe has tweaked their software to work with this new hardware from Apple it's good. They finally made something that performs the way it should. So if you're someone that held off the MacBook Pro because of unreliable keyboards or performance that wasn't up to snuff, I think this year's model is on point. And also, because of this is a new design, right? They're gonna use this chassis for several years. They're gonna, because they sunk a lot of money to make this thing happen. So don't worry about this thing being renewed into some new model next year. It's not gonna happen. They're gonna use this shape for a while. You're good. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. See you guys next time.